drink. No, I don't. So I'm okay. I didn't even go out and get my usual drink anyway because didn't go to the grocery store yesterday. Anyway, welcome to Dylan Knows. It's the first weekend of June. June's a spectacular month for me because it is the month of my birth. My birthday's in about 2 weeks, so that's pretty cool. My dad's birthday's today, so happy birthday to you, Dad. Not that you watch the show, but yeah, my aunt does. Yeah,
he may.
Yeah. And his sister, my aunt Terry, she does, and his brother, my uncle Jimmy, does also. So hi guys.
There you go. Then.
Don't forget to wish your brother happy birthday.
Don't tell him what he's missing.
He's got the big milestone next year. He'll be 70 next year. So,
oh wow, congrats.
But you see, it's great. As my dad though, he's a runner, so he doesn't look it. I mean, he doesn't even look like he's going to be 70. I mean, he looks like he's still in his 60s. I mean, he still is, but I mean, looks like he's a young 60 because he was always a runner, was always in good shape. So, but so saw him yesterday. My daughter had her dance recital, went very well. So I'm happy for her. They're all, you may see, as MJ pointed out, you may see I'm not in the basement like I usually am. I'm upstairs actually in the dining room / living room I have here. I kind of like the aesthetic behind there. I wish I could, because there's a really cool pineapple light behind me. So there's a long story behind the pineapple light. We don't have time for that right now, but there's a story behind it. So it's not just like, oh, there's a pineapple lamp, let's put it in our house. No, there's a story behind it. So but it's a good month. What's really spectacular is next weekend is going to be amazing because I'm actually going to be able to meet my co-host MJ Khan face to face and in person, because he's coming on up here to Baltimore for our Snark Stock 2016. We got about 25 people, so we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna invade Baltimore City. It's right now, as of now, knock on wood, 82 degrees and sunny, so that's brilliant. Nice little breeze off of the harbor. It's going to be a beautiful, wonderful day. So except for that, we got some cool stuff planned. We're going to go to the Diamond Gem Museum, or Jeppy's Gem Museum. The guy who owns Diamond Comics has a pop culture museum downtown right next to Camden Yards, where the Orioles play, and it is absolutely stunning. You're gonna salivate, MJ, when you go and you see the comic vault. Oh my God. I salivate every time I go in there because he's got just comics all over the wall. He's got Amazing Fantasy 15, a real copy, not a fake one. Action Comics #1, the 1930 edition, not any of these other ones that have come out. Detective 27's in there, but then it's really cool. He's got it set up in like decades, so you get further up to like the 2000s, and I go up there and say, yep, I got that one, I got that one, I got that one, I got that one, I got that one. So it's really cool. And then what's really neat also is he's got them all digital. He's not all of them, but he's got a number of them on a digital computer, so you can actually go in and flip it on digital and read it if you want to. So that's pretty cool. And then it'd be really neat. We're going to do a ghost walk in Fells Point, which should be a lot of fun. Yeah, and we were such a big group that we get our own tour, so nobody else is going to be with us except us. So
exclusive.
Exactly. Yep. And then we got some good meals planned. We've got the fancy room at the Pratt Street Brew Pub, which is good, or tap room or something like that. I forget what it's called, but it's going to be an amazing time. So we're not here to talk about that. That's next weekend, which reminds me, I don't know when I'm going to do my list show, because Jerry, my co-host for the list show, will also be in town next weekend, but I don't know if we want to do a live one or whatever, because she might say, you know what, I want to leave, so on Sunday, I want to get home, because she's from Jersey. So I was like, okay, well, we'll see, but we might work it out like that. And then the next weekend is Father's Day weekend. I'm also going down to my sister's, because I'm missing my nephew's graduation from high school. Here's the story about that. We've been planning the Snark Stock for a while, and the only date we could choose really that everybody seemed to agree on is this June 11th, which is coming up. So I didn't know anything that was coming up. I might have had my ideas about it, but my sister never said anything to me. So we'd already been in the process of planning. We got the stuff planned. We got plans made. We got the list down, everything like that. My sister's like, oh yeah. Or Adam, Luke is going to be graduating on the 11th. Are you going to be there? I was like, ugh, I can't do it.
I
But
could have.
I could have if I would have known. But instead, so it's going. So I was like, look, there's going to be like 80 people there. I mean, my sister's inviting everybody under the sun, except for maybe my nephew's friends. That's my sister, but that's just. So there's going to be too many people, so he's not really going to be hanging out with me anyway that much, and seeing me that much. He's going to be busy doing other stuff. So I said, hey, can we come down the next weekend where it's just us? So my family's going to go down to visit them with nothing crazy going on. Father's Day weekend, that's my birthday, so we got some stuff worked out. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about some comics, and it's been kind of a bittersweet week, I guess, in comics, because a lot of stuff is going on, and that's why I named the episode today The End. It's not the end of the show. No matter how many people want the show to end, it ain't going to end anytime soon.
That's right.
But instead, Rebirth is in full swing right now, the DC Universe Rebirth. The first issue came out last week that set up the stage, and then the first batch of new superhero Rebirth comics, the new status quos as they came out this week as well. We're going to talk a little bit about that, even though I'll have to not verge into spoilers because I don't want to spoil it for MJ who hasn't had a chance to read it yet.
Right.
I recommend it though, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. This one is the one I was more sad about. And it's sad, but there's a possibility that everything could be better in the end. Hellboy is basically ending. For the most part, for the foreseeable future. Mike Mignola, who I absolutely adore, I've loved him since the 80s when he's been drawing stuff, has finally decided that he's done telling Hellboy stories for the foreseeable future. So he's not going to draw Hellboy anymore. He's not going to write Hellboy itself. He still might be a part of like BPRD and and Lobster Johnson and the Baltimore series, the other series that he works with that are in the supernatural vein, but he doesn't do the art on those. He just writes it. Right. So I feel a little bit bad about that because I loved Hellboy, and I bought the final issue of Hellboy in Hell, and I haven't read it yet, so I'm looking forward to that. A book that both MJ and I have been championing for a while, Rachel Rising, is ending as well. But, that was always the case. I mean, he probably could have gone on forever with it, but he decided that it's time. And he's always been good about, tight closed in things. Stranger in Paradise besides the point, because Terry Moore did Stranger in Paradise first, which was a huge long arc, and it's fantastic. It's one that MJ and I both are recommending you check out. And they did like a small 30 issue book called Echo, which I never got around to reading. It just didn't
resonate. Just didn't yeah.
But then Rachel Rising popped up. I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. But at that time, I was going through a period where I wasn't buying comics. So I waited for the trade. So I got the first 4 trades. And I haven't gone back because I went through another phase where I wasn't buying comics. So now I got to buy 3 more trades to finish my Rachel Rising and read that. But it's worth it. It's a great series. And we've been
I'm wondering if they're going to do an omnibus of all of them. I'm sure that they will. I think I'll get that one because I know I've missed a few. But, it's just such a tight, good story. So it's
coming out in August. It was just posted in this month's previews, June previews. He's going to be that. I might end up doing that instead because I only have the 4. I'm going to have to balance it. Do you want to buy 3 or do you want to get 1 complete book and you can
just have an entire
Yeah, because the one thing I want to do also is something that I want to do is I have small trades of Strangers in Paradise, and he released 2 omnibuses because there's so much stuff. And I want to get those. They were these done in these really nice, leather bound type of books. They're $100 each or something like that. So that might be a good one. Omnibuses are always fun, right?
Inexpensive.
And also the big how do you do the last couple of weeks has been the end of Captain America, as it were. He's been revealed to be a Hydra agent the whole time.
And the internet has lost their mind. It is just and actually that's a big gamble, I think, on Marvel's part to do that. It's very brave, but it is a big gamble because when it comes to Captain America is America, and people love to be patriotic. So, I mean, the Dixie Chicks still haven't recovered. So,
which is a shame because of all the stuff that's going on nowadays, Right. And it's really funny though, is that, the whole reason why they're doing it is because they want to, Captain America has always been as you said, has been America. And so what America is going through right now with this absolutely ridiculous political presidential race, which I'm so done with. I've been done with it for years. Not for years, for it seems like years. I've been done with it for months, and it's still going, and it's going to keep going till July, MJ, when we have the conventions, and then.
Horrible, and it's just going to get worse as it gets closer and closer to November. It's just going to get worse,
and then it's going to get worse after that, because we know if he who shall not be named win or loses, rather, he's going to want to call for recounts, and he's going to be crying like a little bitch. Excuse me, I'm sorry, but that's how I feel about it. And so that whole process is going to be. So I'm not living with that. But if you did you read the issue?
Yes. Yeah.
The Red Skull is him. You know, they made him out to be he who must not be named. You know?
Right, and that's who it is. It's the Red Skull. I'm like, what does that tell you right there? Everybody needs to go out and pick that up before November and read it. So
I find that hilarious, because we all know that, you know, the Red Skull has been a tried and true Nazi, and then I guess he sort of got disenchanted with it and became a member of Hydra, which isn't the same as Nazis. It's got a basis in Nazism, but it's not the same as being a Nazi. But just the fact that they had him basically saying verbatim what he who shall not be named has been saying also, and having the same crowd with the same reaction. This is a dude with a red skull on his head.
Yeah. Absolutely brilliant. So,
and you can call me a sexist or whatever, but the one problem I had with the issue was Sharon Carter was looking old. I guess that you don't need to make her look gorgeous. You can make her look. I'm not against, you know, having to have every woman looking normal and plain, but there was just something, the way Jesus Saez drew her eyes, it was just like, okay, the wrinkles and crow's feet, but it just seems a little, she looks almost ancient, you know, and she's not.
Maybe they were trying to make her look, you know, a little stressed with the situation, a little, you know, tired, but it just made her look old. And maybe that's what happens. I don't know, but you know, you're right. She did look old.
But I don't want to sound sexist. I don't want anybody out there saying, "Well, yeah, all women don't look the same." Yeah, I know they don't. Look, trust me, I know. And I'm for showing realistic portrayal of women, but that just looks hideous. I'm sorry, it does. It's the worst word for it. There's other things you could do, you know, or maybe even out the wrinkles a little bit. I mean, it's like right around her eyes. It's like, how's it going?
Reflection in a different way, but you don't have to. What happened to you, Sharon?
But oh well. So there's a lot of stuff with endings, and personally on my end, I finished reading all the Amelia Rules stories. There's like 7 books, and I'm going to be championing this one forever, because Amelia Rules is one of the best stories I've ever read, and it proves that comics can do a lot more than superheroes, because the basis is about a 9-year-old girl whose parents get divorced, and she gets moved from her friends and family, or friends and her dad in New York City, to some little small town in Pennsylvania, and she's got to start over again. So she's got the whole divorced parents thing. She's got to be the new kid in school in a tight-knit community, and that friends she ends up hanging out with are like the outcasts, the nerdy, the geeks type of guys. Right. But what it is what it does also is it follows progression of time. So you see her go from this kind of whiny 9-year-old, which is understandable considering the situation she was in, to a stronger, like just on the cusp of turning into a teenager. It's like it's over about a 3 or 4 year period. So she's about, it doesn't really say how old she is, but just she's 12. I think he wanted to end it before she entered her teenage years, because teenage years is a completely different or you've got baby, toddler, tween, which is what this story was about, and teenager. So my daughter is in the tween phase right now. So that's why I got back into this. I'd gotten the first 3 trades because I knew Jimmy Gownley when I worked for Diamond. I actually took books out to his car once when he was visiting us at Diamond. So that was kind of cool. And I bought the first 3. I probably read them, but I don't remember them. And I put them on my shelf downstairs. And then we went to the library a couple months ago. And the library, as I've mentioned before, MJ, is they have a great trade paperback collection for all age kids and for guys like us and women like us. They also have a whole section on manga. It's not a mini. It's a
huge.
We're talking like 2 shelves for the all ages stuff, 2 or 3 shelves for the manga stuff, and like 4 shelves for the more superhero oriented stuff, and they're all in different areas, which blows because you've got the all ages stuff in the kids section, you've got the manga stuff down in the teen section, which is on the outside of the kids section, and then upstairs is where the superhero stuff is. So, and other stuff as well. You know, they'll have Strangers in Paradise, and they'll have stuff like that in there too, east, west. But I finished reading that, and oh, wait a second, hold on a second. Sorry, my volume all of a sudden went down. I was like, what the hell is that? It was because I think it hit my, I'm sitting in a chair with arms, and I think the button was, where I was moving around, it was tapping on, and it was so sensitive. I could see the little bar just go, doop.
Yeah. So that's funny. Tell any difference, but
yeah, I'm actually very loud, so it doesn't really matter now, does it?
You instinctively compensate.
So I finished reading that, and it's an emotional roller coaster, and you know, you think you know where they're going, and then he hits you with an emotional storyline, and then you recover from it, and you're like, okay, this is good, and then nope, boom, I'm gonna hit you again with something else emotional, and it's such a great story, and I'm gonna be championing this for a while. And it also made me thinking also of some other great ending storylines, and the one right off the top of my head that I'm never gonna ever forget is the end of Grant Morrison's original Animal Man storyline, the 26 issues where he wrote himself into the story as being the creator. And that last issue is an absolute gem where Animal Man is talking to Grant Morrison and is questioning him, why did you put me through the ringer over the last 2 years? You know, because at that time, Grant Morrison had killed Animal Man's wife and 2 children, had, you know, created all kinds of horrible things that happened to him. And, you know, and he's able to make his way out and talk to Grant and say, hey, why are you doing this to me? Because he understands what's going on. And Grant's like, because I was in pain, because he is a cat lover and his cat died, and he didn't know, around the time he was ready, he didn't know how to recover from it. So he wanted to inject his pain onto someone else, hoping that it would appease him and that he wouldn't have to deal with it anymore. And then it just ends in one of the most, you know, amazingly emotional sequences where, you know, they have their conversation, everything's fine, and then Animal Man goes back to his life, and he opens his door. It's like, oh wait, my family's back alive now because Grant said, okay, we had a nice talk, and I shouldn't put all this on you. It should come back on me. So here's your family back again. And it's great. It's a great ending. But
it was therapy for him.
But then what was great is that he starts talking about this story, which I truly believe is probably a true story, where he would walk in, I guess he's Scottish, he's Scottish, he lives in Scotland or something like that. He walks across this moor, and there's like this river or lake or whatever, and there's you know, he always flashes his light, expecting to, because he's heard a rumor of someone over on the other side who, or a fairy or whatever, who will return the light. And he's never seen it his whole time doing it, but he still does it out of just because he does, hoping that maybe one day it'll happen. And so he does it at the very end of the show again. He flashes it, nothing happens, and he's like, well, and he walks away, and it stays on the panel. And the last panel is the light across the water lights up. And so if he would have waited 5 more seconds, he would have seen it. So it's such a great ending, and it's so phenomenal. So we'll talk about some of that first. But first, let's talk about something that you have seen, and we're finally getting back to Preacher TV series. Give me your take on it, MJ.
It was different from the comic, but at the same time, I loved it. You know, I think the way that they introduced the characters, you know, I mean, Preacher, okay, yeah, you know, you weren't sure what's going on with him, but the way they introduced Tulip, the way they introduced Cassidy, I thought that was absolutely astounding. And I love their characters. I love their representation. I love Tulip's personality. Cassidy is everything that in my head I picture him and hear him as being and sounding like. It was just a lot of fun. But I do think that for people who aren't familiar with it, I think they might be a little bit confused as to what's going on, what it is, you know, the way that they are interweaving everything. I think that people are going to be confused, and they're going to have to stick it out. But I thought for a first episode, for an hour-and-a-half episode, I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was, and my wife has never seen it before. I hadn't read the books yet, which is something I'm going to rectify because I think she'd really like it. Yeah. But she sat down and she watched it with me, and she didn't really have that many questions. She seemed to enjoy it as well, and I agree with you. It's a lot different than the books, which I guess you kind of have to do, because the way the book is, you really can't do. I mean, they're probably going to touch on a lot of the stuff,
Right.
but it's not going to be like Walking Dead, where eventually they're going to, they'll weave it back in the storyline in some shape or form with other characters or whatever. I think we're going to get to the points where we're going to need to, but you also need to spread it out, because you want to build the story. You want to put it over a few years. You don't want to, you don't, this is one of the problems with having these TV shows is, a TV show like Preacher, which has a definitive ending, whereas Walking Dead doesn't yet, but Preacher does. It was only like 75 issues or something like that. You could conceivably say, okay, go to AMC and say, give me 5 seasons. Sound down the line. Just keep us up for 5 seasons. Let me tell you the story of Preacher and be done with it. But I don't think that's what they want to do. I think they want to. They don't want to just go 5 seasons. They want to go 10. They want to go 15, I think. And they want to, and you have to, like Walking Dead is doing, you're going to have to wheel it out a little bit, because you don't want to do like what's happening on Game of Thrones right now is with Walking. Exactly. So, you don't want to do that. You want to, that's what Walking Dead's doing. They thought, okay, maybe we're getting a little too close to where they are in the comics now. Maybe we need to lengthen some stuff a little bit and introduce some of the other characters and get into more of the other characters, like Daryl, who became a fan favorite. So of course they have to do some Daryl stories and fill that in there. So that's what happened with that. And they're still ways away. I mean, and with Walking Dead on a regular schedule now and going fine, I don't know if they're ever going to catch up with it because of the way they do the series. Right. Until Kirkman says, no, I'm done. Boom. So, but with Preacher, you have a definitive ending, and I want to see everything leading to that. I want to see all the storylines. I'll have to agree with Allison Berry. Remember Allison, our friend Allison? She is an absolute Preacher junkie. She absolutely adores Preacher, and her and Mike Garvey have started a Preacher podcast for the show and the comic book called Gone to Texas. So I've been pushing for a while, because I listened to the first episode and I loved it. It was an hour long, and she said she wants to see everything that was in the comics, with the exception of maybe some of like that Hollywood stuff that went on with the weird sex club and the underage sex club, stuff like that. That's really not necessary, because it really didn't affect the story in any way, except to show how badass the characters were. So I like the series because, even though I've always said, I wish they would do sometimes a straight up adaptation of a series, so I can say, I know it's going to happen here and here and here. There are a lot of people like, well, I want to be surprised still, and so some of the stuff that's going on, I'd like to is surprising. It's fun. So
yeah, it's fun. They're doing it in a good way, because sometimes those surprises can be good and bad. If they use it as a source material and take it in a a negative way, or it just doesn't live up to the source material, you're disappointed. But hopefully what they're doing, and surprising, Seth Rogen's taking it very seriously. I mean, I'm loving what they're doing with this. So, hopefully that stays the course.
And I'll stick with it. I'm hoping that the God voice that entered, whenever you first see it, it's coming from outer space, and I don't know if I want it to be an alien thing. Right. Maybe it's just God is on the outskirts of the universe or heaven or whatever, and it's
filtering through. Yeah.
But I love the fact that it didn't hit Jesse right away. I love the fact that it went to an African church first, and then it went to a Russian church, and then the
Tom Cruise.
Yeah, exactly.
That was perfect.
the God voice finally said, "You know what? This isn't going to work." Kaboom! And they destroy everything like that. And then instead of destroying everything in the church when it hits Jesse, it hits Jesse when he's by himself. Right. And is emboldening him now. So it looks like we're going to be staying in the town for a while. Now, I'm okay with the fact also that they're turning his dad into a preacher also, only because when Preacher came out in the 90s, Vietnam was still close enough that you could have a dad who has a son who's now grown up in the 90s have fought in Vietnam and have that whole Vietnam thing. But now when you're getting a little bit more away from it. It's been 30 some years now. You could conceivably, I guess, do it, but let's face it, you know, you have to be at least, what, 18 to fight.
Right.
So let's just say Jesse's dad is 20, 30 years ago. That makes him 50 now. I guess it could still work. Yeah, I suppose it could, but I kind of like the fact that they're turning him into a preacher, and hopefully we'll see Jesse's family, and because we saw what happened to Jesse's dad getting killed, which is similar to what happened in the comics.
Right.
But instead he's wearing the preacher thing, so we'll have to wait and see what's going on with Jesse about that, how that plays out. So we'll see. And you know, just lots of other little things also. The time when Jesse went to talk to the woman who son thought she was being abused. She was at a what do you call it, the cattle slaughtering place. That is, makes an appearance later on in the series. So it's like, I'm hoping it's just a branch, because I don't want to just stick in this one area. I want to travel. That's what Preacher is. I want to travel around the country a little bit. I don't want to stick in this one town and have everything happen that happens in Preacher happen in this one town. It would be unrealistic.
Yeah. They need to move around. And I know that's probably a big budget hit for them, but you know, it's also part of the story. You take that on, you gotta, you know, be a little bit loyal to it.
Yeah. So we'll see. But I mean,
like Arse Face.
Oh, I loved him.
I did too. I was actually surprised. I'm like, oh my God, this is so well done.
And they made him exactly as he should be, because Arseface is one of the absolutely nicest people in the whole series, and they made him exactly like that. And also, I like the little dig that makes me believe that they are going to talk about the absentee God, because remember, he was talking to Jesse. He was like, yeah, I used to talk to God. And he used to respond to me, but now he doesn't. Right. So, and then I think he hears something else also about someone else. Oh, and Jesse's also saying, you know, he's like, believe it or not, God hasn't talked to me in a while either. So I think they're laying the groundwork, like, well, that's because God's not there. Yeah. That's the whole point of Preacher, you know, because of this whole event thing. So, it was interesting that we only saw the God voice twice, which was with the African priest who said, "Be quiet," and they all silenced. And then when I guess you couldn't tell the police officer to go fuck himself, right? Up his ass. So instead, they told the one guy whose mother was bugging him to do it a little literally, you know, display your heart, and that will give you the same visceral feeling instead of seeing some dude jam his dick up his ass. You know, that's just grotesque, even for TV. You know, the heart just could not have done it. No. The heart's a different story. The heart looked fake. I mean, it looked fake, but it was real enough that you got an idea. It's like he took impact, and he's got to watch out what he says, because that's what the God voice is. They take it literally. Yeah. And hopefully, maybe they're going to bring up the one agent who he tells to count every individual grain of sand. They'll bring that up, because he literally did that. He's like, go, you know, and it took him years to do it, but that was. But I loved Arseface. I loved the fact that they made his dad a little less of an asshole. Right. He's still an asshole. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, that cocktail he made him, I'm like, here, take this to him. Like, okay, yeah. and he's not. He's disappointed in his son, but he's not ignoring him and not being a dick about it. So hopefully that'll play into things. And oh my God, Tulip building building the bazooka with the kids was so awesome. Yeah, I love that, and that was the absolute. And I love the fact that I like this Tulip as being more of a kick-ass assassin than the one in the comics was more of a hesitant one. Yeah, that's the character, I suppose. But I just liked seeing her relish in her kick-assery and being an assassin. And you could also say maybe that is a substance because of her relationship with Jesse and how that ended. Maybe because of that's what ended, that emboldened her more to be this way. And now you see it a couple years later when they're reunited again. And that's the thing also. No one who's ever read Preacher has an idea there's a history between them. They don't quite know how far and how deep it is and how much love they have for each other yet. Until you go, until you go a little bit deeper. So they just touched on a little bit. It looks like when they were showing some of the previews for, I guess, for this season on Preacher or whatever, that she is going to get baptized, which is interesting. So there was a scene where she was getting dunked into water, but she had robes on and stuff like that. So it looked like that he was baptizing her.
Right.
And hopefully it wasn't not some dude trying to choke her or drown her, rather. So we'll see.
And I love the little aside, the little comment that she made about, oh, you cut your hair. Because I'm like, yeah, that hair in the comics, that had to go. I'm glad they didn't try to bring that in, but she's like, you cut your hair. So.
That was, and then you're absolutely right. Cassidy's great.
Oh, I love Cassidy.
And I think it's interesting that I don't remember this aspect in the comics that the group is looking for him, but now I don't know if they were actually looking for him.
Yeah.
Because there was a sequence where he gets revealed to them, and they keep him in the torture room where they hit him with the cattle, not the cattle thing, the one that shoots the bolt, bolt thing. They shot him like every time because they knew he'd regenerate. But the other thing also is, I guess we'll see about that. But Cassie doesn't like drinking human blood. Yeah. But he was fine doing it today, he did it the one time, but he was being, unless he had to. And I guess in this case, he had to. He needed the blood. He knew that something was going to happen to him. So he needed to be powerful because he's going to jump off the airplane. And I love this scene where he's all discombobulated in the hole, and the cow's right there, and he grabs the cow comes in, able to recover. So it's great. So, but yeah, I love Cassidy. They got him. They nailed him pretty good. I love what they did with Arseface. And I think the chick who's his assistant at the church is a new character. I don't think that's one I remember.
Right.
And that's fine.
They'd have to bring some in. Yeah.
Add someone in as a romantic, triangle, because you have to have a romantic triangle apparently. Which I don't like that, because we know full well that Tulip and Jesse belong together, and it in the end, Preacher, while yes is more of a take on religion, is a love story between the two of them. And that's the other thing also. That was the other thing that Allison was a little bit disappointed about. And it looks like, and I've heard from other things that they still haven't cast the Saint of Killers. And I want to see the Saint of Killers.
I do too. I didn't realize they haven't cast them yet.
Yeah, I want. Or if they have, it hasn't been big news because I haven't seen anything. And you'd think that'd be like, on all the comic book websites, you're saying, because he's been considered as being one of the greatest villains, because he is a villain, but he's not a villain. He's one of those great shade of gray characters. But I want to see the Saint of Killers also. Allison's absolutely right. I want to see the Saint of Killers. We're gonna, and they also, I don't think they haven't cast the I forget his name, the obsessive guy who's the main bad guy for the whole thing, who has everything happen to him. He loses his eye and loses his dick, and he loses all stuff and gets into the in a lot of trouble. I forget what his name. They haven't cast him yet either, because these two guys, I think, who are wandering around to all the churches, they're the angels who are coming down to try to seek the God voice.
Yeah, they're looking for this entity, and
because the whole thing was when he takes the tea bag and eats it. Dawn was like, okay, that's one way you can drink your tea. I was like, it took me a second. It's like, I don't remember that. And then when I was listening to Allison's podcast, I was like, oh wait. Yeah, she said, yes, the angels. So we're going to see more about them, because they're there now. So, everything happened, even though it seemed like it was happening slow, a lot of stuff happened, They
laid a good groundwork for the foundation. So
yeah, absolutely. So Preacher's good. Second episode is on tonight, 9:00. So we recommend that everybody go watch it. They aired the encore, the premiere, last week. So if you missed it last week, I'm sure they'll probably rerun it today before. So I'd say around 7:30.
I'm glad they put it on at 9 too.
Yeah,
because at 10:00 that's a little bit late for things like that. But the bad news is they're running it against Game of Thrones, but that should be over in a few weeks. It'll be
Yeah, I still think it did pretty good though in the ratings. Granted, Game of Thrones still took some of their thunder, but I still think it did pretty good. So we got that out of the way. All right, let's see. Next up, keeping on with the TV thing, we've been talking about this show for a while, but if FX has officially greenlit the Legion series,
Right.
not the Legion of Superheroes, which would be a freaking awesome show.
Legion.
The Mutant Legion, who has this weird powers connected to the X-Men in some form. So we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see. I mean,
it's the X-Men. It's Fox, so we'll see what they can do.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. So we did that. This might be a little bit of a sign of hope. You and I, we've torn the DC comic movie universe a new a-hole because they deserve it, to be honest.
Exactly.
So I think Suicide Squad is going to be really good. I think they're going to, and I think Wonder Woman next year is going to be really good. But the whole Superman, Batman, Justice League thing just didn't seem to work. Well, apparently, Warner Brothers agrees, as does DC, and they've instilled big man Jeff Johns as now the guy who's going to be running the DC cinematic universe. Yes. And we know how Jeff is basically doing the same thing with the comic universe. So something's got to give eventually, but I guess, when you look at it in the end, I don't even really think Jeff's writing anything in the new Rebirth. So I think he's going to be more focused on the cinematic universe. His first act as the new guy is, we don't need no stupid subtitles. So Justice League, the Justice League movie is going to be called Justice League.
Which is all it needs.
All it needs. Yeah, absolutely. So
don't need to explain it. Don't need to, dawn of anything in it.
Yeah, exactly. Justice League, the coming of Darkseid.
Really. No.
Or Steppenwolf arrives in Justice League Part 1.
Everybody's like, I'm going to skip that. But I think they need to do this, though. I mean, they need a showrunner for their universe. I understand that they love to give creative license to the filmmakers, but some filmmakers need to be reined in. Zack Snyder, I'm sorry, but you're going to hand over Justice League to this man. I have nothing against him, but think about that.
Exactly. And it's basically, that's what Kevin Feige, whatever you want to call him, is. He's the guy at Marvel. He's the one who pretty much makes sure everything, he's got the big whiteboard, probably how everyone's connected and how everything's going to be connected, and is also able to give them license because James Gunn is like, there's no Thanos in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. We've got a completely different story. It's really not going to have any aspect on the Marvel universe other than the fact that it's going on in the same cinematic universe, which is fine because Guardians of the Galaxy was a great series. Excellent. And it worked to have the Collector in it and it worked to have Thanos in the first one. But when your story in the second one is going to be more focused on Star-Lord finding his dad and some of the other new characters, you'll need those. And I'm really looking forward to that now. I mean, it's less than a year now because it's going to be early May of next year. But you got Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell together again, are both in this movie, as well as all the regular cast members who were from the last one. And you got Mantis, who's coming in, and you've got Nathan Fillion as Wonder Man. You can't go crazy.
Wait.
It's going to be amazing, and I'm really excited for it. I'm looking forward to Doctor Strange too. I want to see more. We'll probably see more trailers as we get closer. Maybe
some more effects. Some of the magic will show up probably.
Yeah, July, August, we'll probably see another trailer because it's coming out like November, I think. So we're gonna have to start seeing a little bit more from it eventually. But I mean, obviously, it's a heavy special effect thing, and so you're gonna have to take your time on that. So we'll go with that. But speaking of Marvel Cinematic Universe, check off another character that they can now add to the series and make into movies. Namor the Submariner is now officially a member of the Cinematic Universe. Somehow he was able to get around the whole Fantastic Four thing because, he first appeared in the Fantastic Four, but he might not necessarily have been a part of the package, whereas maybe like a Galactus and Silver Surfer might have been, whereas, because they were already made into that movie, but Namor was never really thought of, so they never asked for the rights to it. So Namor's, it's officially licensed. He's back in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now everybody's like, well, what are we going to do with him? Are we going to give him his own series, his own movie? No.
They won't do that. They won't go crazy. But
don't give him his own movie, okay? Please don't. You can put him in somewhere else. You can put him in. You can put him in a new Captain America movie, because he's part of the Invaders. You can always bring up the Invaders. You didn't see them in Captain America: First Avenger. It doesn't mean they weren't there.
Right. And if you go back far enough in the Marvel telling of things, he was the one that threw the frozen Captain America into the water. You know, he found the Inuits worshiping him, and he's like, "Oh, false idol," and he chucked him into the water. So he does have a history with them, so they could certainly play on that.
And I'm sure you know what you introduce them in Infinity War or whatever they're going to call it now, because they're changing. Because you're going to have you're going to need to have all these Marvel characters.
Right.
I'm sorry, you're just going to have to, because that's what everyone's going to be expecting now with a title like Infinity War, Infinity Gauntlet, whatever it's going to be. I think it's going to be, as I said, we mentioned this last month. I think it's going to be part 1's going to be Infinity Gauntlet, part 2 is going to be Infinity War. So that makes sense. And you know what? Those are okay to do the subtitles with. Justice League, remember Avengers, when it first came out, it was just Avengers.
Right.
If you want to do Justice League 2 or whatever, then you can say, Justice League 2.
You can't have the same title, right?
Dark Side Returns. Yeah, Dark Side Returns or something like that. So you can do that, whatever. But that's fine. But just start with Justice League, and that's what Jeff is talking about now. So
I mean, did Batman versus Superman need to be called Dawn of Justice? Honestly, the first time I heard it, I was very confused. I'm like, I don't even know what that means. So I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, and we've already stepped that, so we're gonna have to probably go through this stuff again in July when the Ultimate Edition comes out. But
I did hear the rumor though that they were considering releasing that in theaters for like 4 weeks.
Yeah.
I think they need that last push. They are desperate to get that $1 billion, and it's just not going to happen. So they need to you say, okay, you know what? Let's put it all into DVD and Blu-ray and make some money off of that, because that's just a nightmare waiting to happen if they release that.
What they need to do is, if you really want to, because their animated department is excellent, they should release Killing Joke in the movie theaters. That's coming out
much better.
It's coming out August 2nd. You got Mark Hamill as the voice of the Joker, and Kevin Conroy, who everybody loves as Batman's voice, as the voice of Batman. And you've got who plays Night Nurse on Daredevil? I forget her name real quick.
Oh God, Claire. What is her name? Oh, I can see her face.
Yeah, she was in Men in Black 2, and you'll think of it eventually. But she's going to be the voice of Batgirl, and they're even though that story is not very good to Batgirl, and it's a story that is nice looking, but honestly, I think Killing Joke's really overrated also, which is, it's a good story, but I can see where a lot of people are upset with it, because, if you want to shoot and paralyze Barbara Gordon, that's fine. But then to be honest, I still interpret it as the fact that I don't think the Joker raped her, but a lot of people think that he did. Yeah. I think instead what he was doing more was not really rape as in the sexual rape, was more of a mind raping, because she was powerless to have him take off her clothes, because that's what he did. He took off her clothes and took pictures of her naked body with the blood spilling out. That's messed up, and that's the Joker. That
was inside her head. He got in,
Yeah,
that'll stick with somebody.
Yeah, and then that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to break Commissioner Gordon. So how else could you do that? Unless you see your daughter, who you love more than anything, splayed up there, bleeding to death, could be crippled, nude, vulnerable, stuff like that. It's enough to it'll mess you up. So I don't know if I tend to, when I read it, I don't go with the thought that he raped her. I thought it was just more of a mind raping, which is still bad in general. Right. But supposedly they're going to be doing basically almost a straight adaptation. So what they're doing instead is they're going to be adding a bit more Batgirl. So you're going to see a bit more Batgirl in action, and you're going to have whoever this actress is, who I can't think of her right now.
Rosario Dawson.
Yes, Rosario Dawson. Yes, she's going to be the voice of Batgirl. So you're going to have her show her more heroic side, so that when this incident does happen, it'll resonate more. So we'll see. That's coming out on DVD August 2nd. It's digital is like July 25th or something like that. So you'll be able to catch it digital first, and then when it comes out on DVD. So I'm on the fence about that, because once again, as I said, it's not one of my favorite stories. It's beautiful to look at because Brian Bolland does fantastic artwork. But the story itself, I don't like it. Not just because of what happens to Barbara Gordon, but the fact is at the end, Batman and the Joker are laughing at a joke after everything that's happened and all that stuff. And
it was a bad taste.
Yeah. So I didn't like that. So, and we'll see. But yeah, that's what they should do. So other aspects of the MCU, Brie Larson now appears to be the front runner for Captain Marvel. She's an Oscar winner now. She looks the part.
Yes.
I can see it. I'm okay with that. They decided to go that way. They haven't. She said she's a front runner, but there's no guarantee that she is going to be in it. So it's just right now. That's who we're looking at right now. They've also are looking at the director of the Babadook, which is that horror film, I guess, which is also female. Jennifer Kent and Nikki Caro are being eyed for the Captain Marvel film. So they are going to definitely, much like with what they did with Wonder Woman, what DC did with Wonder Woman to get a woman to direct it.
Right.
They're going to try to get a woman to direct Captain Marvel. I still would love to see Angelina Jolie direct it because I think she's an underrated director. I think she's really good, but and to her benefit, it's fine. She tends to like to make films that are more message oriented, and she's not really the type of person who would make a straight up comic book science fiction type of movie. Her point is she wants to make a statement, which is fine. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And maybe we need more of those to show what's going on in our world and how horrible it is, not just in America, because there's a lot of shit happening elsewhere in the world. We just don't care because we're stupid Americans. We're more concerned about letting transgender people go in the bathroom, which is just a disaster right now. I don't even want to talk about that either. What was the other thing I want to talk? Going back to the DC cinematic universe, The Flash lost their director.
Yes.
They gained a new one now. I've never heard of this movie, Dope. Guy named Rick Famuyiwa. I guess he's Asian or something like that. He's been tapped now to direct The Flash. I mean, I guess Dope is a good film and got enough. I don't think we don't need a Flash movie. We have a perfectly serviceable Flash on TV,
right? And
I don't really want to see another version of the character. Unless you decide to make it Wally West, which I know you're not going to. Yeah. So
Ezra Miller, I still don't see him as a Flash, but And the Flash that showed up in Batman, how I feel about that one. So I'm like, I just don't see the point in that. But the bigger thing I think is, why are these directors leaving these projects citing creative differences? I mean, what does that mean? Creative differences? Is it like, they don't want to go as dark as they're being told to go? I can't imagine a dark Flash. It just will not work. There's no reason in the world to have that. So if that's what they're saying, then these other directors are correct. They're like, no, you do need to leave. And that's where Jeff Johns needs to step in, because he has done some amazing work on Flash, and be like, look, we need to stop this. Our characters are not these dark, murderous savages running around. We need to stop this. Let's make some good movies here.
Exactly. And you look, I'm one of the biggest critics of the cinematic universe because I despise Man of Steel. I had no desire to see Superman, Batman. I don't like where they've taken Batman, even as far back as the Michael Keaton one. I like the movies, with the exception, because I haven't seen Superman, Batman. I haven't seen Ben Affleck yet. I like the Batman movies, and some I don't. Batman, Robin, notwithstanding, is an awful movie. But I just don't like how Warner Brothers portrays Batman as a killing machine. He's not a killer. He doesn't use guns. He doesn't kill people. It's okay.
There you are.
Yeah, it happens every once in a while. It happens every once in a while. So I'm not. It's okay. They didn't like me. He's like, oh man, he's talking about DC again, isn't he? Just stop. I'm gonna shut him down. Boom.
Time Warner is listening, and they're like, okay, that's a division. You used our name in vain. Click. Let's throttle this guy.
But my point is, though, I need to see a good Batman film. I need to see a film where you don't use guns. You use your detective ability. That's the one thing that drives me absolutely bonkers. They've never shown Batman as a detective. The closest they've come is when Michael Keaton in the original Batman goes to the grocery store to find all the chemicals and try to mix some stuff up. But you don't see him do this. He says, let's go shopping. Yeah. And the next thing you know, it's like, oh yeah, I figured it out. Well, let's see you figure it out. We can do a montage, do some, the Bunsen burners in the cave, and pour it in there and shaking it and then mark it on the whiteboard. It's like, no, you can still show Michael Keaton, have him in his Batman outfit, just with the cowl off, and just, like, damn it. What am I going to do? I got to figure this out, and then swigging back coffee or energy drinks, he's like, yeah, I'll do this, and then he's like, yeah, all right. No, I don't want to be that dumb, but I mean,
but just show us something.
Yeah, that's why you need to do the Riddler as a villain, and I don't want a psychotic Riddler. You know, if Ben Affleck is, you know, he's serious about doing writing and directing and starring in a Batman film, and that's fine, you know, it's good. But if you decide to use the Riddler, don't make him a murderous Riddler. Don't make him a Jim Carrey Riddler. The Riddler is none of those guys. The Riddler is the smartest guy in the room, or in his estimation, he's the smartest guy in the room, and all of you guys are morons. And he says, to prove how smart I am, I'm going to tell you exactly where I'm going to rob. Yeah. But you got to figure it out. And I don't think you can because you're stupid. You know? And that's what the Riddler is. And that's when, you know, when Batman comes into it, it's a good way, because, you know, once Riddler meets Batman for the first time and sees that Batman is, oh shit, Batman is pretty smart. Still not as smart as me, but maybe I made this
found somebody that can have
yeah. Right, yeah. So maybe I can make things a little bit harder now and see if he can figure it out. And that's in itself for the Riddler, be like, that's a challenge. Let me see what I can do to show that I'm much smarter than him, and then just do that. And then, you know, because he's not big and bulky, he's not, you know, the Riddler is a regular guy. I could be the Riddler, you could be the Riddler, you know. We're just regular guys, you know. We're just smarter than everybody, you know. And that's where you need to have Batman use your detective skills. You know, you can, you know, have him try to figure out the clues, or you can make it like, you know, a series of clues, you know, and that, which is something that Riddler would do. It's like, okay, he figured out my one solid clue. Let me give him like 5 and see if we can do it, and have him increase in difficulty as we move on, you know?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think that they should make a Batman movie and make it a mystery. Instead of a superhero movie, they should make it a mystery with elements of thriller in it. But I mean, that's basically what the comics are, you know. And he kind of shuns the whole spotlight of being a superhero. He's like, look, you know, I stick to the dark because that's what I do. But my brain is my biggest weapon, and they need to do that.
Yeah, and maybe they need to do that more often, because if you're going to be doing Justice League concurrently, you can put him in superhero action there.
Right.
Whereas we're here, I mean, his villains, there's none that are really, except for maybe Bane and Killer Croc, that are really outrageously powerful. You know, you've got Joker, who's probably 120 soaking wet. You know, I don't want to tell you, but the Joker reveal in Rebirth is really interesting. Actually, I think it's actually in Justice League they revealed it. I thought it was going to be something terrible, like Joker was the cause of the death of the Waynes. He's not. It's something a little bit different that I was not even expecting. And when I read it, I was like, oh shit. But we'll get into that in a second. But yeah, I mean, and that's the great thing is when Paul Dini, who was one of the driving forces of the Batman animated series, he came on and wrote Detective Comics. He took that to heart. He said, okay, we'll use some of the bad guys, but it's going to be, and he eschewed multiple story arcs. He did one and dones, basically. And he said, okay, I'm going to set up this mystery. It's Detective Comics. Batman is going to have to use his detective mind to solve the crimes. And I also love the fact is because Paul Dini absolutely adores Zatanna, and I love Zatanna also. Zatanna was basically a co-star in Detective Comics, and it worked out the way. And also, what was great too is that he made the Riddler kind of be a good guy also, as sort of like the source that Batman had to go to for help on certain things, which strokes Riddler's ego. But at the same time, you know, if he's really trying to change his spades at that time, I guess he was changing his look or whatever, and trying to be more of not a hero, but he figured maybe my smartness, I can show my smartness better by helping people, and they'll know the fact that I helped them and know that I'm smart enough that I helped them, you know? So maybe it's a way to stroke his ego a bit more. So I like that aspect of it also. So that run that Paul Dini did on Detective was fantastic. It also had, I think this is the one. If I'm wrong, I apologize, Chuck Dixon, if you wrote this or if someone else wrote this. But there was I think it was a one shot. It was a Christmas story, I think, that focused more on Robin. Tim Drake Robin. And Tim Drake gets blindsided by the Joker and is kidnapped by the Joker and put in a car with the Joker driving it. And the Joker's driving erratically through Gotham, tormenting Tim Drake with his cackling and running into pedestrians. And Robin is trying to figure out how to stop him. And it just shows how smart Tim Drake's Robin was, and how he's able to use his ingenuity and stuff like that to end up defeating the Joker, who was someone who at the time had killed the previous Robin, Jason Todd, and had crippled Batgirl. So here's a guy who was a psychotic mess, and here's Tim Drake, who's still a young high school kid, who, in my estimation, is still probably the best Robin. Nothing against Dick Grayson. I think he was a good Robin also, but he's a better Nightwing. And to be honest, I think Dick Grayson's a better Batman also than Tim Drake would have been. And that makes logical sense. When Bruce retires, eventually, you're going to still need a Batman. And when they had Dick be Batman a couple times, I love those. I love those comics. And I love Dick as Batman. I loved his interaction with Tim Drake's Robin, because him and Tim were so great. And then they screwed up Tim Drake in the comics with the New 52. But I think with Rebirth, they're starting to weave him back in as being more like the one we're used to seeing. So, just those type of books, stories, you don't need to have, as you said, MJ, you don't need to have it all be superhero-y, end of the world thing. No. Have him go in and solve a crime that could affect Gotham City, could destroy Gotham City, because Batman, he cares about other places as well, but Gotham is the one. He was created to protect Gotham. He said it a number of times, I'm Gotham's protector. Yes. I'm the one who needs to protect Gotham. So he's the guy, and he took it bad when that whole No Man's Land happened. That screwed his head, because he failed protecting Gotham. And instead, he failed, and it messed him up for a little while till he figured, I got to get back, and I got to go back and be protector. So do something like that.
I mean, and the one thing that you don't see in any of the Batman movies that they do a lot in the comics, I mean, the criminals, the police, everybody refers to him a lot as detective. That's what he's known as. I mean, even Ra's al Ghul refers to him as the detective always. He's he loves Batman's mind, and that's how he refers to him as, the detective. But you just don't see that portrayed.
No, and you need to. So we'll see. But hopefully we'll see more of that. It's still been kind of missing lately in some of the comics, I think. Its underlying current is still there. But I think it's still there, I guess. But to be honest, I really haven't been reading a lot of Batman, so maybe I'm right or wrong. I don't know. Two more things, and then we'll get into the main stuff about this. Well, a couple more things. Dark Horse Day was yesterday, and it just sort of came and went. I think I mentioned it once. It's like June 4th was their 15th anniversary, or 20th or 35th or something like that. I think it's probably more like 25th anniversary. And it was a day where, celebrate all things Dark Horse, and, comic stores, got these Dark Horse samplers, and, they could have done Dark Horse sales. Like my store did a 60% off of all Dark Horse trades. Right. All their trades were 50% off, and they had the sampler out. And I guess, if you put the word out, I mean, they had posters and stuff that saying Dark Horse Days coming and stuff like that, but they didn't really go all out. They didn't get any of the writers or artists or editors, whatever, to come in, which they could have if they wanted to. They didn't really put it on the radio or whatever, because it's not like Free Comic Book Day. Right. It's just a little bit, but they did a little something, and maybe they got a little something, but you could have made it into something fun, especially with the Hellboy stuff going on. But I don't blame my comic store, because honestly, I didn't hear it anywhere else. I didn't see any pictures of Dark Horse Day on any of my comic websites that I follow, or comic stores I follow. There was a couple that says, we got a sale going on, but that's about it. It's like, okay, that's didn't
pop up on my Twitter timeline, which a lot of times stuff like that does. So I'm like, I didn't know.
Yeah, but I just lucked out to happen to go there. I wasn't going to go there on Saturday, because I'd already bought my comics for the week. But my daughter had a recital, as I mentioned earlier, and she loves the Funko Pops. So I went to the comic store, because they have a good supply of Funko Pops. And I got her a Civil War Black Widow one, which is actually a bobblehead, which is really cool. But it's a really cool looking one. So I bought that for her, and I just so happened to, see the sampler. I was like, okay, I'll grab that. And I actually, which is great, I didn't have enough money on Wednesday to buy the Spider-Woman trade, to collect the first 6 issues of the new Spider-Woman series. I wanted to read it because it looks interesting, but I was able to purchase it this week at the same time at the 50% off, so that was good. So I got that. So I went in for myself also, but I did buy my daughter something, so it's not like. Good. And then And then here's the funny thing also, that I went to Toys R Us because my son is going to be like, why does she get something? I was like, well, you know what? It's her special time. It's okay. But I also know that he had to sit for 2.5 hours at this recital watching dancing that he's not really that interested in at 6 years old. So I said, okay, I'll buy him a Lego Dimensions character and give it to him if he's a good boy. And he was a good boy. He complained a little bit and moved around a lot and was kind of annoying, but
I probably would have too. So,
but yeah, I lucked out though. My mom was there and she loves Noah. I mean, they have a special connection. And then after my mom had to leave to go back and see my stepdad because he's not doing that well, my sister-in-law and my mother-in-law were with him. And so my wife and I just were able to just sit back and not really. If he was doing stuff, he was sitting in front of us because the way the seating was done, you get 5 seats automatically. So every family who has a dancer in the recital, you can, when tickets go on sale, you get 5 right away. I mean, you have to buy them, but you are guaranteed 5 in the recital because they have only a big enough space, and there's lots of kids in this dance recital. So we had 9 people who were coming to this event, so we needed to get 4 more. So what they're gonna do is after everybody has about 2 weeks to get their 5 tickets anywhere they're free. They go on sale regularly. It's first come, first serve. So you want to go in that first day and pick up the good seats because they'll sell out. So I went in the first day and because I had the 5 all together, I lucked out. There was one empty one that made it a 6 next to the other 5. So I was able to get that one. But then I had to get one behind the row that everyone was in, one behind that row, and then one down like further away, but it was the best I could do at the time. So I mean, it was good. And so my wife and I were sitting off to ourselves and other people took care of our son, but we were in front of him. We were in front of him. So if he was starting to act up, I could reach over and grab him and say, hey, settle down or whatever.
Still here.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what happened. And one time he was getting really, really bouncy and goofy near the end. It was getting close to the end. And I told him, he's got to settle down like that. And he stopped and he like pulled his legs up around his knees and just sort of sat the rest of the show instead of bouncing around. It was like, and then would go back and forth like to his grandmother and then his aunt and I'm just watching this while I'm watching the show and I'm just like, ugh. So then near the end I was like, I got you a Lego Dimensions figure. You just have to wait and see what it is. He's like, oh, okay. So then he was fine the rest of the show. I went to Toys R Us, so I got that, and I happened to be passing by the Funko Pop stand they have at Toys R Us, and they had a Teen Titans Go Raven, which is one of Noelle's favorites also. I was like, damn it, I should have gone here first. I was like, I'll buy it anyway. So I bought that one for her. So she got 2 pops, and I got the Lego Dimensions character for Noah. So that's good.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was good. So I don't even know where I was going with that. So that's the whole thing about Dark Horse. That's right, yeah. The whole Dark Horse thing.
Right, Dark Horse Day.
And that's enough about that. Also, rest in peace, Muhammad Ali.
Yes.
And he's the greatest, and he does have a comic connection. He fought Superman in a comic.
Which is,
I think he won too.
People may think that is. He did. It was on the cover. It was, I think you could even see Batman's head in the crowd, and he was like watching him or something. Like,
but yeah, Ali was one of the best, and he was. It was hard to see him as he got older. Just
the Parkinson's and what he was reduced to,
and the years of boxing, and then luckily a lot of the websites I follow on Twitter, so like that, they were releasing like historical pictures of Ali, and so I looked at them, I retweeted them. One of my favorites is the little kid. There was like it was just some random little kid, I think, was up on the boxing. It was in the boxing ring with him, and he's got the mitts on, and he's like punching Ali, and Ali's like, and they're punching. He's like, oh yeah, and he's trying to punch him too, and then eventually, as Ali, as you're supposed to, this little kid's like 3 years old, 4 years old. The kid hits him hard enough that Ali's like, oh, and he falls down like he was knocked out. I was like, yeah, you knocked out Muhammad Ali, no one can do that. And then the other one was when the one boxer who missed him like 21 times, it's like whoosh, 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 whoosh. And then the boxer stops, and then Ali's like, oh, little goofy thing. Ali was a character. He was
a character. He was, yeah.
It was.
He will be missed.
Yeah, he will be missed. And 2016 sucks so far. They've been taking
my God,
so many,
dropping like flies.
It's only June. We're only halfway through.
A lot of celebrities are going to the doctor right now, getting checkups, and they're like,
I have
anything.
I have a bad feeling Gene Wilder's going to die this year.
Oh God.
Because have you seen any recent pictures of him? He looks ancient. He's like 92, 93 years old, and he looks ancient. I mean, and it's I mentioned him mostly because Noelle read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So I said, okay, I'm going to show you Willy Wonka with Gene Wilder because that's my favorite over the Tim Burton one. So I showed her that one. I'm going to show her the Tim Burton one eventually. We just haven't had time to do it yet because I'll show her both, and because they're unique films in their own right. I mean, it's not one of my favorite Tim Burton ones, but it's okay, and it actually skews a little bit more towards the book than Willy Wonka does, despite the fact that Willy Wonka was written by Roald Dahl. So the writer of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory also wrote the screenplay for the Gene Wilder version. So she enjoyed it though, and so they were showing some after Ali, they announced Ali's death or whatever. One of those websites said these are all the actors that you didn't know were still alive, and the top one was Gene Wilder. The picture what it looks like now, and he looks ancient, man. He looks like he's hanging on with the thread. So we'll see what happens. But you know what? 90 years, that's a long time. And he lost Gilda like 50 years ago, which was basically like the love of his life. So the fact that he was able to survive for longer than Gilda was alive, it was crazy. So, oh well. But yeah, rest in peace, Muhammad Ali. One last little interesting thing. MJ, have you ever gotten a loot crate?
No. What?
It's a loot crate. Have you ever seen they have those crates available now? Star Wars does one. There's a whole bunch of them. What you do is in the crate, it's like a cardboard box, and inside there's like a T-shirt or a Funko Pop or a button or a patch. And so Loot Crate is one for like geeks and nerds and stuff like that who like superheroes and Star Wars and stuff like that. And each month is a theme, and they get a bunch of stuff together. Like this past month's was what I get. I got a Warhammer T-shirt for the movie Warhammer movie T-shirt. There was I can't remember what else, but I mean, I gotten some BB-8 socks in one once. I got an X-Files T-shirt once when the X-Files came back out. It was like an aliens and a green thing and Mulder and Scully's silhouettes down there. So it's a lot of just like nerdy geek stuff. It's just a lot of really cool pens and all kinds of really cool shirts and stuff like that. Well, in this most recent Loot Crate, they had an Infinity Gauntlet oven mitt. Oh. And I don't know, did you ever read Twisted Toy Fair Theater?
No.
Twisted Toy Fair was a member of the Wizard publication group, and in 2000 the Wizard publications were amazing. You had Wizard Comics, and they had a Game Trader or whatever. And Toy Fair was basically a magazine about action figures, new ones that were coming out, because the 2000s like 2010 was like a banner year for action figures coming out. I mean, they had the Marvel Legends, they had DC was doing their ones, and Marvel was and Diamond actually had their Diamond Select toys as well. So we had to push those because that was part of our company as well. And they're nice. Push might be the wrong word, but they're actually really nice action figures. The only difference is they weren't really play toys. They were more statues, but they were made in the same action figure form, and they had like limited amounts of points of articulation. But you got like a She-Hulk, and you got like a Watcher and a Thanos and stuff like that. But in the Toy Fair magazine, they used to do something called Twisted Toy Fair Theater, which was, like the old Fumetti comics where you would take action figures and have them in situations. And then you'd have funny word bubbles where it'd be like sexual jokes or innuendo jokes or stuff like that. So Spider-Man Mego, which was the cloth action figures from the 70s, was like the main character, and he was a very sarcastic Spider-Man and hated life and stuff like that, and he had to deal with all these people. And so it was just the worst parts of all the character. Hulk was so stupid and always did stupid things, would pee in the snow and say, "Here, you want some lemon, ice," stuff like that, and try. But it's hilarious. I'll have to bring the Twisted Toy Fair trades for you when I see you next weekend, and you'll have to just read. You will cackle. You will cry. So you will laugh so hard you will cry. It is so funny. But one of the jokes they did back in the mid 2000s was they had they had found the Infinity Gauntlet with all the soul gems on it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't on Thanos anymore. It was like a yard sale or something like that. And so they were trying to get it back, but when they found it, they were like, they all got together, like, okay, how are we going to get this? We're going to steal it. We're going to pay for it. Everybody had the money to buy it. And when they come back with the plan, it was gone. So then it's like, oh no, who has it? We all know who has the Infinity Gauntlet. So fast forward to Spider-Man going back to his house, and there's Aunt May with the Infinity Gauntlet on, and she's using it as an oven mitt. And Spider-Man, being a sarcastic Spider-Man, is like, "Oh man, you have no idea what you're dealing with. It's like you're using it as an oven mitt." He's like, "Yeah, it was like 5 cents. I got it, at this yard sale." And but so
nothing's burning me.
Exactly. So what Loot Crate decided to do is like, let's actually make one. So they made a Infinity Gauntlet oven mitt. Here's the problem, though. They had to recall them. Because people, and it said because there's a little catalog that comes with it. It says, it can be used as an oven mitt. Apparently not. No. Because there were people who were using it, were getting first and second degree burns, thinking that it would protect them. So they had to recall. Apparently they missed a step where they put the glaze or whatever it is makes it fireproof. So they've had to recall that. So if you have a Loot Crate with the Infinity Gauntlet oven mitt, do not use it as an oven mitt.
Don't reach into the oven with that.
Do not, unless you want to burn your hands badly. If you're into pain, go ahead. But no, don't do it. I don't know the whole recall process. I'm probably not going to recall it because I wasn't going to use it as an oven mitt. We got plenty of oven mitts anyway. It's a neat little, but it's just like, oh my God, are you really serious? It's crazy. Okay. So time to talk the end. I'll talk about Rebirth a little bit. I know you haven't read it yet. I'll dance around it. I'll give you some. Okay. I won't. I tell you what. I'll give you a couple of spoilers, but I'm not going to give you the big spoiler. The one that sets up what Rebirth is all about. Basically, they said that I think Dan Didio came out, or Jim Lee or someone came out and said what's going on in Rebirth now is going to be like a 2-year process, and that after about 2 years from now, something big's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And that's a way, you can build people's interest and get them into it as well. So I'm not going to tell you what that is because they pretty much reveal what it is, and it's a doozy. It actually is. It's a doozy. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but it's got my attention, and that's what I like about it. And I just hope that they don't ruin it by what everybody is thinking. The people who were okay with spoilers or whatever were saying, well, now they're going to do this and do that, and it's going to be stupid. It's like, well, maybe, but just give it a chance. As I said, they got about a 2-year period to do it. But what's great is this is what Convergence should have been. Okay, Convergence was that disaster of a total mess of last summer's event, where it was fun to see, previous incarnations, the pre New 52 DC universe, the pre-Crisis DC universe, the pre what is it? Crisis, Infinite Crisis stuff. Where you had Superman and Superboy in the leather jacket and the faded sides and stuff like that. It was fun to see that just for like 1 or 2. It was a 2-issue miniseries for each of those things, and they had like a 6-episode storyline or 9 episodes, something like that. But this is what it should have been, because what they've been doing is a lot with like what Marvel did with Secret War, is they're integrating aspects of the old Marvel universe with the new Marvel universe. So that's what they did with Secret War and Marvel. They're doing the same with DC with Rebirth. They're integrating old pre-Flashpoint, free New 52 stuff into the contemporary DC New 52. So technically, it's a whole new amalgamation now. There are still some aspects of the New 52 in the Rebirth era, but there's also a lot of the pre-Flashpoint stuff in there as well, and also some pre-other stuff, because here's a couple spoilers. Ted Kord is still alive. Blue Beetle is still alive in this here, but he's not Blue Beetle. The other Blue Beetle who also died, the Asian guy who was excellent. I forget his name right now. There was an Asian Atom that Gail Simone wrote, and he was great. He was like Ted's. Well, not. I'm talking about Atom. I'm sorry, Blue Beetle. I'm talking about. Oh, I got them all confused. No, the Mexican Blue Beetle.
Yes.
Is now working with Ted Cord. So you've got Jamie, I guess is his name, Jamie Reyes, I think. He is Blue Beetle, the old the new 52 version, the blue insectoid looking with the 52 on it. And Ted Cord runs Ted Cord, and he wants to be Blue Beetle, but he knows he's too old to do it. So he's becoming the mentor to the new Blue Beetle and is like trying to say, heck with school, come, save the world with me, so like that. And that's going to be an interesting thing. And then the Atom is what I'm talking about. Ray Palmer has disappeared.
Okay.
And there was an Asian Atom who was killed during the whole dark era before Flashpoint, where they were killing like
everyone,
Ted Cord and Atom and stuff like that, just for the heck of it. He's back. He's a college kid, and he knows about Ray Palmer as like one of his lab techs or whatever, but he doesn't know anything about the Atom. And the Atom's in trouble, and he left a video for this guy saying, hey, you're my favorite. I think you can handle this. This is what I am. I'm the Atom. Here's your suit. Come find me. Come save the world, whatever. And that's it. So you got that aspect of it also. So you got those as well. And then my favorite, I squeed with this like a little girl. my Wally West is back.
The Wally West.
The Wally West. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the African American or black. I don't know. I don't sound racist, but the Wally West that appeared in the New 52. Right. In fact, the way because Jeff Johns wrote this, in fact, the way he did it was he was able to keep the Wally we know and the new Wally both together and have it make sense. They're related.
Gotcha. Because
he said, Wally mentions, because Wally, and I'm not really spoiling anything, because Wally is the main driving force of Rebirth. He's on the first couple pages, and he's the one you follow through the whole issue. Right. And he's trying to warn all the heroes that something or someone has taken 10 years of their life and has sort of messed up their minds, thinking that they're this New 52, when in reality they aren't. It's interesting to see what they're going to be doing with that. Okay. And so he's trying to warn people. So he's going to the people he thinks he can. And this was great. I love this. He's going to people who thinks he can get to easier to help him, because he's like traveling through the Speed Force or whatever, and he's making all these appearances, stuff like that. So who does he go to first? He goes to Batman first. He knows Batman's got that analytical mind. He knows that if anyone can figure out what's going on and understand what I'm saying through my garbled voices and my because he can't come right out and say what's going on because he doesn't fully know what's going on, but he can give out a few clues, like there's something going on, you might not remember who I am, and he comes to Batman and he does that, and Batman doesn't quite recognize him at first. But you see other scenes, especially near the end, because Batman is in on the big reveal. He's the one who comes at the big reveal at the end about who the main driving force of Rebirth is. And he's sitting there and he's thinking about things, and he's like, and it's like almost a eureka moment. He figures something out. No dialogue. He's just sitting there using his deductive mind saying, what did I just see? Which is what Wally believed. No, he had truly belief in Batman that he would figure it out. It just took Batman a little longer
to do it. And
he did. He eventually figured it out, and he starts digging, and that's when we find out what's going on with that. And so he then goes to like Superman, I think. But he doesn't have anything, and he goes to a bunch of he goes to everybody except to Barry, which is odd. You'd think he'd go to Barry first because he might remember Wally. If anyone would remember him, maybe Barry would. But I guess he thought that something's going on with Barry and the whole Flashpoint thing with Barry. Maybe there's stuff happening, so he had to go through other people first to try to get brought. Oh, and he also wanted to go to the woman who was his wife in the pre-50 New 52, who's in Linda Park, who's in the New 52, but she's a lot younger and she doesn't know Wally West. So he figured, I'll go to her because she'll know who I am. I mean, we love each other. We're in love with each other's lives. We're married. We have kids, you know, stuff like that. She'll know me. No, she didn't.
It doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. And that's what sort of brings Wally down a little bit until he decides, you know what, I got to try one more chance. That's when he goes to Barry. And Barry's the one, here's a spoiler, one big spoiler. Barry's the one that figures out who he is and draws Wally back into the DC universe proper. So Wally's back in the DC universe proper, and that's not the big spoiler. I mean, you can pretty much predict that was what was going to happen. I'm not going to reveal the big spoiler to you, MJ, so you can read that on your own. But that I just wanted you to know that Wally is back, and they made it out so perfectly that he is related to the other Wally. So it makes sense in the timeline now. I mean, it's not like, oh, it's just some other Wally. No, it's another person who just happened to pick the name Wally for whatever reason. And, you know, I'm related. It's like they're cousins or something like that now, because it's you know, Iris is still his aunt, but Iris, I guess his other uncle had a son also, you know, even though, you know, it's weird. Iris has always been his aunt, but, you know, she hasn't married to Barry yet. You know, they haven't gotten married yet. So, you know, it's Iris's brother, which is who this Wally is the son of this one, is actually in terms of it's all confused. It makes sense in the book though, and I love how he just spells it all out. And you get to see, you know, the Superman of the New 52 is dead. That was the big story that's been going through the last issues of Superman and the New 52. They killed off the New 52 Superman, and so our pre-convergent Superman, who appeared in the Lois and Clark book, is now going to be your main Superman. So he's back as well. And there's a lot of other things as well, but it was brilliantly told. I loved it immensely, and it was $2.99, 80 pages. 80 pages for $2.99. You can't get that deal anymore. And the artwork's gorgeous. You've got Ethan Van Sciver doing artwork. You've got Gary Frank doing artwork. And you got Ivan Reyes doing artwork as well. You get a little bit of the Aquaman, what's going on with him. You know, you get little bits and pieces of other stuff that's new and what's happening in the DC universe. So now you're going to start exploring it more in the Rebirth books. And this week, or rather this past week, June 1st, Batman Rebirth #1, Superman Rebirth #1, Green Arrow Rebirth #1, and Green Lanterns Rebirth #1 came out. Now, of all of them, I haven't read them yet, but I was looking through them. The Green Lanterns one intrigues me the most because Hal Jordan is out in space with the Green Lantern Corps, and they have their own book coming up in a few weeks. He's not the Green Lantern of protecting Earth anymore. They're going with Baz. Remember Baz, the gun-toting Green Lantern who's Muslim? He's in there. And they're going with Jessica, the female who was who got the Earth 2 Green Lantern's evil ring and was able to fight that off. And now she has her own true Green Lantern Corps ring. So the two of them are going to be protecting the Earth. And they're actually going to be joining the Justice League, the two of them together. Hal's not a member of the Justice League. I think he's sticking with Green Lantern Corps. They got a lot of junk going on out in space to deal with out there. So, but I like that. It looks intriguing. The characters are ones that you've just scratched the surface on them, you know, and this is a way to develop them, to turn them into a really important thing. Green Arrow, from what I've seen, they're starting to shift away from the TV show Green Arrow, but still keeping them young though, because remember the Green Arrow in the pre New 52 was older, and he and Black Canary were like soulmates, and that was kind of creepy because there's like a 30-year difference. Now they're closer in age, and now it looks like they're going to be maneuvering them back together. So there's a sequence in Rebirth where you get that general idea as Wally is journeying through all the DC universe and just seeing what's going on. There's things that they in the New 52 they had very little togetherness. You know, they might have knew of each other, but they never really worked well together with each other. Now in the Rebirth, the original comic, there's like a little sequence where there's sort of like a flash goes off. It's like, there's something missing in my life and I don't know what it is. And they both get to that same sort of thing at the same time. They're in different areas, but they get to that connection at the same time.
Mhm.
But what I've been looking through the Green Arrow book, it looks like the two of them reconnect and are working together against a bad guy, and they're going to be teaming up in this book, even though she's going to have her own book with the Birds of Prey. So, so that'd be fun too. Superman is one I'm more excited about because I love Peter Tomasi, who's writing it, and Patrick Gleason, who's drawing it partially. They're going to have a couple different artists on it because it's going to be bi-weekly. Patrick Gleason's also co-writing it with Peter Tomasi, and Doug Monkey's going to be in there occasionally. So I love all the artists. I love the writers. It's Lois and Clark, the Clark I remember, not this new 52 asshole. it's the and the only difference is they have a son now, and the son is going to play a big role also. So that's going to be interesting as well. And then Batman, to be honest, Batman Rebirth looked like Batman. You know, nothing really.
There's not so much you can do to him, or you should do to him. So yeah.
They recreated the Calendar Man into a vicious bad guy, so that could be they sort of updated him to be more vicious bad guy. Other than that, I mean, there's really not much going on. Apparently, I've been reading in the comic proper, there's going to be two new heroes, a male and a female, who are going to try to usurp Gotham from him to become the protectors of Gotham, which a lot of people are thinking is connected to the overall big bad of the Rebirth. So that's and I can see it when you find out what the big twist is, and then you start thinking about that these two characters are like, could it be? Could it be? I mean, they're not. It's just it's hard to explain without ruining it, but it's fantastic. Okay. So you need to read it, MJ. Read it before next weekend so we can talk about it next weekend. And then this week coming up, you have Aquaman Rebirth is coming up. Nothing really exciting. There's Aquaman where he proposes to Mara. I thought they were already, I guess they were in love with each other, but then I guess they separated, but now they're going to get married again. So we'll see about that. So Aquaman Rebirth is good. The Flash Rebirth is obviously going, they're not really saying much. They couldn't say much when they were before the book came out, but now they're saying it's going to be how Barry reacts to Wally's return. So Wally's not going to be Kid Flash. He's in his Kid Flash outfit during Rebirth, but they're giving him a whole new Flash outfit because they're going to make this other Wally Kid Flash because he's going to have the speed powers also. Okay. So that's a layover from the new 52. And that's where they're sort of melding everything together. And then there's Wonder Woman Rebirth, which I'm really excited about. I know you are too, because Greg Rucka's writing it. And I think it's sort of the new 52 Wonder Woman because they were just in describing the Rebirth. It's like Wonder Woman is trying to recover from a major event. You know, her and Superman were the new 52 Superman were together, and he's dead now, so she's going to be recovering. So I think we're going to be focusing more on the new 52 Wonder Woman, who is the daughter of Zeus, and that's how they're going to make it like that. But I have faith in Greg Rucka. So.
I do too. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
And then the Action Comics 957 and Detective Comics 934 are going to be the new status quos for those books. They're going back to their original numbering, and the new Rebirth stories start there. They don't have a Rebirth comic. This is the beginning of their comics. Now, the ones we already talked about, Batman, Green Arrow, all of them, their regular books are going to come out over the next couple weeks. This was just a Rebirth to say, this is the new status quo. This is where we're going forward. And then like in another week or so, you'll get the first issue of all the new series and the new storylines, stuff like that. So it's worth it. It's getting me excited for the DC universe again, so much so that up until this point, I've just gotten back into comics over the last month or so. And I've been getting a lot more independent stuff. I'll be dropping a lot of the independent stuff, I think.
Time to go back to one of the big two, huh?
Yeah, well, only because the independent stuff I was getting, I was just going for stuff that were number ones and stuff like that, so I could start over fresh with them as well. And they look okay, but nothing's like telling me I got to go read this. You know, nothing to say, you know, it's fun and it's good. But the DC Rebirth is a different story now because I hated the new 52. There were aspects of it I liked, but I hated the new 52. I hated what they were doing with that. And that was one of the reasons why I stopped collecting the comics or focus more on Marvel, because with their Secret Wars, they start over, and I've got a lot of Marvels I'm collecting now too. So, but now with all these Rebirths, I'm like, okay, I got to figure out how I'm going to do this. And I don't want to go back to where I was spending like $100 a week. I don't want to do that. I want to try to budget myself to the $20 to $40, and that's where I've been recently with these independents I've been doing. So now I got to look and say, okay, what comics do I want to read, because it's bi-weekly now.
Yes.
And I don't know if I can handle that. I don't think I'm going to do Batman. I don't think I'm going to do Green Arrow. I'll probably do Wonder Woman because it's Greg Rucka.
Right.
I'll probably do Superman because it's Peter Tomasi and I love his stuff. I'll probably do Flash if they're going to have Wally connected in there in some way. And then, who knows, coming up, there's a lot of really stuff. Remember, the Rebirth lasts through September. So we're going to be seeing Rebirth books and new books coming out for a while. So I'm going to have to just take a look at it and say, I can only do so much. I can only buy so much. And it's kind of depressing that they're doing this. I wish they'd go back to just monthly, but I guess I understand you want to make money. That's the easiest way to make money. So
yeah, fill those coffers.
Let me see a couple more things, and then we'll end the show. Hellboy is ending. Kind of, Mike Mignola is not going to draw Hellboy anymore for the foreseeable future. Could it change? Absolutely. In 5 years, he could say, you know what? I got an itch to draw Hellboy again. It's not like he's going to say, that's it, no more Hellboy ever. He hasn't said that. He just said, I'm going to step away from a little while and do some other stuff. Apparently, he's going to be doing some watercoloring, which is amazing because I haven't read it yet, but I was leafing through the last issue of Hellboy, Hellboy in Hell number 10, which came out last week. I was leafing through it, and there's a whole sequence that's watercolored, and it is insanely gorgeous. And you wouldn't think that from Mike Mignola, who's made his career being in the shadows, and drawing shadows and darkness, stuff like that. But this was lightness and pinks and blues and whites, and it was amazing. And I'll have to hopefully he's not just going to do like paintings like are in a museum or whatever. Maybe he'll do like a painted book with new characters and like in a forest or like fairies and shit like that. That'd be awesome. But we'll see. But supposedly he's not going to be drawing. He's stepping away from the drawing board to do more of this watercoloring, which from what I've seen,
he's got a good future with that. Yeah.
Got a good future with that. And then, but that doesn't mean he's not going to be involved. I mean, he still co-writes BPRD. He co-writes the Baltimore series, which is about like a witch hunter or something like that. He co-writes like Lobster Johnson and a bunch of other stuff as well. And so he'll be around, but he also has a group of people who've been working with him on Hellboy. He hasn't always been drawing Hellboy. He took a break for a while, and Duncan Figaro was the artist on Hellboy for a while. And Mike did the writing for it. Right. Mike wanted to do Hellboy in Hell, so he did 10 issues of Hellboy in Hell where he drew every single one of them. And also he's done the little minor mini stories in Dark Horse Presents and stuff like that. And so, but he's got a group of people who have been ensconced in the Hellboy BPRD world this is the reason why he's able to step away. It's like, not going to miss me. He might even step away from writing. I don't know. It's like, these guys, I've been rewriting. Hell, I just have my name on it because I created the characters. They wrote the whole damn thing. I just put my name on it. There we go. So let him go ahead and let them, and I'm sure he's not going to be like totally disappearing. I mean, he's probably going to still be editorial and, like executive producer behind the scenes, and they'll still have to run things past him. But, he picked these guys to do the writing and the art and stuff like that, and he has faith in them. He's like, that's fine. So, which is good. So it was kind of depressing because I've always loved Mike Mignola. I remember my first really Mike Mignola experience was the Phantom Stranger miniseries back in the 80s. It was the last time I went trick-or-treating. I wanted to be the Phantom Stranger the way Mike Mignola drew him. So my mom made me sort of like the Phantom Stranger. And by now I was like 13 or 14, so I was kind of tall, but I was still dressed up. And every door I went to was like, "Are you Zorro?" No, because I had the cape and I had the hat, and I was like, "No, I'm a character by the name of Phantom Stranger." And after the point, I was like, "You know what? Screw this Halloween trick or treat stuff. I'll just decorate the house and eat the candy and hand it out. I'm fine with that." And then I've changed that. Now we have a Halloween costume contest at work, so now I get dressed again at work, and I win $50 practically every year. I've had 10 Halloweens there, I think. I've only been there 9 years, but I've had 10 Halloweens, I think. And I've won 7 of those. So I've gotten, let's see, it's $50 every time I win. So it's like $500 some I've won. Free cash, no tax, nothing. It's cash. Here's your $50 right there. Because nobody else really gets dressed for Halloween. So it's like a shoe-in. I keep telling them, look, I won dressed as a hot dog because only one other person dressed up that Halloween, and there's 2 prizes. So
you got something.
You just got one, And then I lost this past year. I was a pimp this year. I lost to a guy who was Macklemore or something like that, which is really good. I'll admit it was really clever. Plus, I'd won like 2 years in a row up to that point. I was dressed as a woman. Yeah, I was dressed as a woman one year. I was dressed as a Black Lantern one year. I didn't win that year. And the one that still pisses me off is the first year I won, I was Frankenstein. The second year I didn't win. I had still is my favorite costume. I was the Incredible Hulk. We used lab coats. We sell lab coats. We have some of our accounts are hospitals, stuff like that. So I found an old junk lab coat that was damaged or whatever, and I shredded it. And it still had it, so you had the basis of it. And I had green makeup from when I was Frankenstein, so I bought some more, and I covered myself in green. My arms, my legs. I even had my chest a little bit, showing a little bit. And I was wearing shorts like the Hulk was, so my legs were green. And so I was the Hulk. And I was like, this is awesome. I'm going to win. No, I lost to some dude who had a prosthetic screw. It was like a plastic screw he was able to glue into his head and had blood dripping down. And that was it. I was like, really? That beat me. And the reason why I think that is because I won last year. They didn't want me to win 2 years in a row, even though I was the best. And it's voted on by your coworkers, but I think it was a fix. It was a fix, and this is what I'm still pissed off about. But my goal is I want to be the Riddler. I mean, we talked about Riddler earlier. I love the Riddler, and I want to get a Riddler costume this year. I think I've done some looking on Amazon. There's a couple good ones. I think I might pick it up. So. Okay. But going from Mignola from that, and then Cosmic Odyssey, which was a great DC book that he drew also, and I think P. Craig Russell was the best inker for him because P. Craig Russell and him have similar design style. And when P. Craig Russell, who's a great penciler on his own right, but you get him as an inker inking over Mignola's stuff, it is fantastic. It is absolutely gorgeous. So, and then when he created Hellboy, I was like, oh man, this is amazing. And he did a Legends of Dark Knight Batman series. He did Gotham by Gaslight, which is a great Elseworld story. So I love Mignola. I've always have. So I'm gonna miss his artwork, but give the guy a break. He's been working for 30 plus years. He needs a breather, and I
just need a break. I need to rest. Yeah.
And the watercolors is gorgeous. I mean, as I said, he's got if he decides that that's all he wants to do, he's got a career in it because it looks absolutely gorgeous in this book. So rest in peace, Hellboy. It was a good run, and we'll probably see you again. And then finally, Rachel Rising. We've talked about this book forever. Terry Moore is fantastic. Again, it's one of those books that if people who are said, I'm interested in comics, but I'm not really that interested in superheroes, can give you some suggestions. Rachel Rising is a good one because it's a horror book, but it's also a mystery, suspense, supernatural type of book, and it's so perfect in the black and white that the mood is set with the black and white gorgeous artwork. And I think color would ruin it, to be honest. Right. Part of the atmosphere is the black and white artwork of it, and it is absolutely stunning and gorgeous. So he's ending his I think it was like 45 issues or something like that. It's a pretty good run. It's 4 years, something like that, 3 or 4 years. Yeah, like 4 years. He would do 48. Yeah, if he does close to 48, it was 4 years, and it's absolutely stunning. I mean, it is atmosphere plays is such a big important role, and that had it in spades. It's a lot like with Hellboy. I mean, Mignola's sort of, recently this last Hellboy book he did was Hellboy in Hell, and it was a chance for Mignola to really go wild. So this hell that he created conceivably could be hell. Yeah. It's covered with decaying buildings and weird ghostly creatures and demonic looking entities and big and big giant demons and witches and snakes and creepy dark water, and it's like, this could be hell, it really could be a good. So that was atmosphere for that. But and the thing is, it's in color, but he uses muted colors on it, so it gives you that dark quality. But the Rachel Rising, Terry Moore's pencil work, absolutely stunning. The black and white fits appropriately. So Terry Moore's the guy you want to go to. If you want something different in comics, he's got Strangers in Paradise, Rachel Rising, and Echo. Even though I didn't read it, it's his version of like a superhero book.
Right.
And he does strong female characters. So if you're a woman and you want a strong female character, check out that as well. Anything else?
I don't have any.
Okay. So I think that's it. I highly recommend everybody check out Rebirth. It's a perfect jumping on point for the DC universe. See what the universe could be like in the movies someday if Jeff Johns is going to do what he can.
He gets control over it. Yeah.
You get a good view of what it's going to look like, and it's fantastic. And I don't know if this happened real quick. Did we talk about Supergirl going to CW? I don't think we talked about that yet.
That was recent. It was after the last show. So I think that's going to be really good. Did you see the end of Flash?
I've read about it, so I know they're setting up Flashpoint because
and I'm thinking maybe that's how they explain her arrival in this universe, because when she was on CBS, even though they had a crossover show, they were quick to say separate universes. So maybe that's how they're going to explain this. But apparently they're setting up quite the crossover for their usual, so I'm looking forward to that. I really am.
I mean, why not? Because you've got Legends of Tomorrow, you've got Arrow, you've got Flash, you've got Supergirl now. You got 4 of the 5 days of the week, you got a CW superhero on, and why not? I mean, as we said before, with all the secondary characters they have in these shows, also you've got the makings of a really nice Justice League. Yeah, right there. Martian Manhunter, Supergirl, Flash, Vibe, Arrow, the Canaries, and then whatever character, and then you can create any character you want for Legends of Tomorrow. Like they're going to bring the JSA in apparently. Yes. And that's what I like also is the fact that they got John Wesley Shipp, who played the Flash in the 1990s, right? As the real Flash, is now the Golden Age Flash. That's like the coolest thing ever, And Garrett, and I think you can see him head over to Legends of Tomorrow because they're going to be working more on the JSA side. So I mean, granted, I think the Hawks disappeared, but then you can bring the Hawks back if you want to, and you've got all these characters now. You can't use the big ones, you can't use. You don't really need them. Yeah, I mean, Superman, look, Superman is mentioned in Supergirl, so you might be able to finagle that, but you're not going to really do a Batman, but you could do a Thomas Wayne type of Batman if that's what they're going to go with Flashpoint. Why not? But you have a lot, they were mentioning some stuff. Legion hasn't even been done yet. You could do a Legion, hell, with Legends of Tomorrow, Time Travelers. Why not do something with the Legion? Yeah. Or if you wanted to, they'd be perfect. Or you can bring, and with Constantine who popped in there. There you go. Another aspect you can open up with Swamp Thing and Zatanna and Black Orchid and stuff like that. You've got the Supernatural. So I would love to be part of that writing crew. You got these 4 series, and you got your pick of DC characters now, which are not the big ones. You can't really deal with the big ones, but you've got all these minor characters who are just as cool. And you've got all these incredible storylines that you can just pick and choose from, and it's just you don't know which way they're going to go with it. They can, and in the last, I think it was the last episode of Flash, I don't know. I think they hinted at Green Lantern. I really do think he's going to show up at some point because it was just too pointed the way Iris was, having one of her internal monologues, and she said in Blackest Night, and it was just so direct the way that she said it. I'm like, they're really just hinting at Green Lantern. It's like the second time they've done that. So, and they also made a mention also that they could be doing Flashpoint, but at the same time they could be doing a Blackest Night story too, because the demonic speedster that took
he looked like the Black Flash.
He looked like a Black Lantern type. So and then Black Flash as well. So.
There's a lot they could be doing. I'm excited about the season, So,
and with Green Lantern, there's so many of them. You don't have to use Hal Jordan or Jon Stewart if they're going to be the ones in the movies.
Any of them, man.
You can use Kyle. You can use Guy Gardner. Hell, you could cast Simon Baz or Jessica. You could do them as well, or you could just create your brand new one. I would love to see just a Guy Gardner just get dropped in on these guys and his whole attitude. And you know what? Guy Gardner's a Baltimore dude. You gotta love him. So,
and if they bring him in, they got to keep the bowl haircut. Please.
Yes, they have to keep the bowl haircut. And you got to keep him from Baltimore.
Yes.
Keep him from Baltimore. He's a badass. Pain in the ass. That's us Baltimoreans in spade, as MJ's going to find out.
Yeah, I can't wait.
It's going to be a blast. So, thanks everybody for watching.
Thank you.
Go to your comic store. As we're going to keep saying, if you like what you've seen in Civil War or Suicide Squad or Batman, Superman, or The Flash, Green Arrow, Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl. Right. If you liked any of that stuff, go to your local go to your comic book store. They'll have comics with all those characters. In fact, DC's got they have a digital first series called Adventures of Supergirl, which are comics about the television Supergirl. Mm-hmm. And they, as what they do with their digital comics, after they've had them out for a while, because they come out once a week or something like that, they collect them in comic book format, so you can actually read the story if you don't want to do digital. Right. Adventure Supergirl is on issue 3 coming out this week, actually, so you'll be able to, if you like that Supergirl from the TV show, you can pick that up and you can read further adventures of the Supergirl from the TV show. As we were talking about, Rachel Rising, a great horror atmospheric thriller with a female lead. Strangers in Paradise, another great, you almost want to call it romantic, but it's partially romantic, but it's spies and hookers and evil and good and light and lesbians, and it's fantastic. It's a great series. Pick up, there's tons of Hellboy trades, so now that Hellboy is going to be off the radar for a while, now it's time to go pick up and read all his stuff. There's a ton of trades out there for him. I talked about Amelia Rules, another good all ages book. There's all ages comics. There's action. There's superhero comics. There's romance comics. There's detective comics. There's all kinds of comics. And then if you don't like comics, your store might have gaming stuff or baseball cards or glassware or pop culture collectibles. Yeah. So go to your comic store just to see what you can find out. And a lot of stores are going to have sales. They have really good sales. My store always seems to have a 50% off a trade paperback sale. So if you want to get caught up quickly on a series, like what I'm doing right now, I just bought the Spider-Woman trade because I didn't start collecting it when it started over again. They're on issue like 8 right now. The first trade collects issues 1 through 6. So you read that, and then most stores will have a couple months supply of comics still up on their wall till it goes to the back issue bin. You can pick up, I can go pick up 7 and 8 just came out last week. So that's going to be up on the wall for a few months. I can pick them until they sell out. You grab those for regular price. Boom, you're caught up. You're reading Spider-Woman then. Another one I mention all the time, Astro City. I cannot talk enough about Astro City. I think everybody should read Astro City. It's superheroes, but it's also how superheroes affect normal people. Like you've always wondered, there's a big superhero battle and you own a diner and a bad guy gets knocked through the diner and it damages the diner badly, or maybe one of your customers dies and they fly away and they have nothing else to do with it. Well, then what are you going to do? You got to deal with the lawsuit of someone dying on your property, the loss of your income. I mean, a lot of people who own businesses, they put all their money into their business. Now you're ruined. Yeah, there's insurance and stuff like that, but if they're going to get sued by other people, and that's what the stories are about, they focus on how regular people react to. Right. And then they also prove that superheroes are regular people also, and take a look at their personal lives as well. And that's fun too. So there's so much out there, so much out there. So MJ, I will see you in person next weekend. Should be a lot of fun. And this will be waiting for you. Not this one specifically, but I got you. I have one that I haven't opened yet, but I got you your Grendel shirt, and you'll get a nice Snark Alex t-shirt as well. And who knows, the Gem Museum has a gift shop that you can pick up some more cool stuff. They got Funko Pops and action figures and comics and trades and all kinds of neat little doodads and gadgets. So it should be a lot of fun. So I will see you next weekend. As for Dylan Knows, I may skip next weekend because my co-host Jerry Fletcher is also going to be in town. But I usually do the show on Sunday. There's going to be a lot of carousing, a lot of late nights, so it might not be good.
Might not happen.
and plus, Jerry's not going to bring her computer, and we can, and there's really not a way you can do, 2 of us at the same time. But we could have, because actually, her and Myrna are actually going to be staying with us because Myrna originally wasn't going to, but and then Jerry needed somebody to room with. But then she's like, she said, is there any way we can stay with you? I was like, yeah, it's fine. So they're going to come early on Saturday. I got to tell you this story real quick. This is more Snark Alex stuff, but MJ, I'll get this. Janine's coming also, and she's coming by train. Her train gets into Baltimore's train station at like 5:30 in the morning. So I told her, look, I don't want you wandering around down to, I'll come pick you up. So I'm going to go pick her up at 5:30 in the morning, bring her back up here, and we're going to hang out till the event starts. So you'll probably see lots of stuff from that. I'm probably going to do some maybe live video via Facebook. I'm going to test that out this week, see if I can do that. Or I might record it on my phone, and maybe I'll make that my Dylan Knows. Dylan Knows. Introducing, here's Dylan Knows. Here's with MJ and Jerry, and everybody, and here we are. Pushing Dylan. Here's MJ and Jerry pushing Dylan into the harbor. So we'll see. Should be a lot of fun.
Looking forward to it.
I don't know when another episode of Dylan Knows is going to be. It might not be next week. Worst case scenario, it'll be the 18th, 19th. Again, I don't know when because it's Father's Day. But I'm a father, and my family's going to say, well, "What do you want to do for your for Father's Day?" And I'll say, "I'll stay home and do my Dylan Knows show."
And they're going to be like, "No, you won't."
Yeah, probably. Because I'm not the only dad. There's her dad and my brother-in-laws, and so we're probably gonna have a big family thing to do. And then they're gonna want to celebrate my birthday, which is on Monday, June 20th. So we'll see. Which reminds me, everybody at Snark Stock, I'm not gonna see you before my birthday. Bring birthday presents for me.
Put that plug in.
There you go. No, you don't have to. That's all right, guys. We'll see you later. MJ and I, we'll have to figure out what we're gonna do in July because July 4th is on Monday.
Right.
I mean, we could still probably do July 3rd, but I don't know what your plans are. If you have a cookout or whatever, if you don't want to do it, or not. If you don't want to do holiday weekend, we can skip it around, shift some stuff around, maybe make it the 3rd week of July or whatever. We'll when we get into that, we'll discuss that. Maybe we'll discuss it next week, or maybe we'll just discuss it through email or Twitter or whatever. Okay. And that enjoy the rest of your June. Me too.
Don't get rained out today.
Yeah, it's right now. It's sort of holding steady. The sun is sort of lingering, but it's cloudy and it's threatening, but nothing's happening yet. It's still early. Let's say like 3 o'clock, so we got about 40 minutes before it's supposed to really hit us. But you know what? The weatherman said a lot of stuff yesterday didn't come to pass, so we'll see. I got to go grocery shopping anyway. So before I go, if I decide to go down to my in-laws, which I may or may not, we'll see. But that you don't need to know that. This is the end of Dylan Knows. I'll see MJ next week. MJ and I'll be back sometime in July talking comics again. And we'll see you later.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Have a pleasant June. Have a pleasant month. If you only watch the comic show, first day of summer comes up on my birthday. I got to put it in one more time. June. It's because of leap year. It's because usually it's June 21st because of leap year, though. It's June 20th. So don't forget, June 20th. Presents. Man, I'm lame. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.